Hi, friends. And for those who don't know me, I'm Jean-Marc Flambert. I'm recording this message to share, to try to encourage some, if not all of you, in two ways. Number one, I'm donating my bone marrow, so stem cell transplant. And I want to tell you about that because it's so easy to do, and I really want to encourage you. And the second thing is by putting myself forward, I've actually been able to possibly save something not so great happening to me. So let me get started. Um, Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching something on TV, and it was about the importance and the development of some stem cell research and how it's helping so many people. And but the problem is that a lot of people in the BAME community, the Black, African, Asian ethnic minority groups, that we don't tend to we don't tend to put ourselves forward, and so there's not enough people or not enough samples from our community, and didn't think much of it. Filled up a little form online, and I used a charity called DKMS. There's other charities also, but I that was DKMS was doing the interview, so that's how I got onto it. I had a packet come home. I remember this quite vividly. I had to just use like a cotton bud swab inside my mouth and post it off, and I forgot about it. And mid-November, so about a month ago, I got a call, and a young lady asked me whether I remember doing this, and I said, yes, I do. And she said, well, great news, we found a match. She was careful not to say whether give any information about the identity, because you're not supposed to know the patient till 2 years afterwards. And the reason they keep the identities separate is not to put pressure on you in case you're needed to give a second stem cell, because the patient needs more support, and you don't feel obliged to. And it generally takes about 2 years for the stem cells, for the person receiving your stem cells, be completely out of the risk. There's no guarantee when I'm doing this that the person will survive, but at least I'm giving the person and their family a chance in the right direction. That's huge. So yeah, so I got the information. I was really excited. And about 2 weeks ago, I went in for my test. I went to the hospital in central London where the actual surgery will happen. And I went for a test. The reason they test you is A, to make sure your health is good, and to also check. They took actually 22 vials of blood, tiny bits, it wasn't as if I was left weak or anything, but to test. I'm part Haitian, part Sri Lankan. I've been to Latin America. So just to make sure that I'm not carrying any infections, any disease that could be passed on to the recipient. And so they did all those tests. They did an ECG, and they also took my blood pressure. And in fact, they took my blood pressure first and said, "Do you have blood pressure?" I said, "No, I don't have any problems." "Do you have it in the family?" I said, "No." And so they said, okay. And then they tried a little while later, and they took it 5 times within the hour. All of them were high. I think the lowest was around 170. So they said, what is it supposed to be? I said, well, it should be around 120, 130. So maybe you're just nervous. Go tomorrow to your GP and check it again. So um, the next morning I went to my GP and took the pressure. It was 180. And my GP said, do you have headaches? Do you have blurred vision? And I said, no, not really. I get an occasional headache, but that tends to be when I've been drinking too much the night before and just, brushed it off. But she said, no, this is very serious. And if you don't bring it down within 2 days, then I'd suggest you just take yourself into hospital. Don't even come back to the doctors. Go straight to hospital, because you will have a stroke at 180. If it continues, you will have a stroke. It's not normal. And so she put me on some medicine. She asked me to do a blood test and an ECG. And I said, I just did one yesterday. She said, no, you have to do it again. I need these results fast. And she also gave me pressure tablets, 1.25 milligram, and sent me off. So within 24 hours, my pressure monitor came home. And in that first week, I was averaging, I think, around 142. So not as bad as in the doctor's clinic. Maybe I was more nervous. So I got 150, 147, but over the week. I was taking it twice a day, 3 readings each time, and I was in the 140s. The following week, so I immediately, when I heard this news, I cut out 5 cups of coffee, cut out completely, stopped drinking. I was drinking probably 3 bottles of wine a week. I stopped drinking completely, and exercising daily, which I needed to do, reducing salt intake, blah, blah. And so I continued all of those different things. And then the second week, I brought it down to an average of around 36 or 37, 136, 137. And after 2 weeks, I went back to the doctor. All the blood tests, the ECG were all fine. No traces of anything that was abnormal. And but she did increase my medication now since last Monday, so a few days ago, and so that's under control. So I'm really blessed that I've identified it early. I could have had a stroke if I'd continued like this in my lifestyle. I would have probably had a stroke by Christmas. So I'm very blessed to know that I didn't, and I'm okay, and I've identified the problem, so I can manage it. Right now, in this third week, with the increase of medicine and the continuous exercise, I've just come back from a swim. I'm kind of in the 126. So I'm in the 120 to 130 band. I just need to keep it up. And I did have a glass of wine yesterday, and I am, having moderation, the 1 or 2 glasses, not the 5 or 6 glasses. And so that's something I just wanted to, I'm very, very thankful for. But most importantly, this week I'm going to go in to give my bone marrow. And I'm very excited, number one, to know. I don't know who the recipient is. And as I said, I won't know for a while, but just really excited that in this week leading up to Christmas, that I can be making a difference. And so can you. All you have to do is go to one of these sites, Anthony Nolan, DKMS. I'm sure there's many others where you are. And put yourself down. I think you just have to put your details, your name, your email, your address. They'll post you something, you do the swabs, and job done. When you are called, and if you are called to give bone marrow or stem cells, there's 2 ways of doing it. Stem cells, they quite often, in 90% of the cases, you just give blood, and you're giving blood for about an hour in a clinic, obviously, and they collect your stem cells. But in some cases where the recipient needs a stronger dose or more concentrate, I presume that means that they are more ill, but I'm not sure of that. I'm not a doctor. In 10% of the cases, they choose to take it from your bone marrow. So in the back, your lower back, they make 2 holes and they put you under general anesthesia, and they make 2 holes and they pull out the bone marrow from your lower back. In other words, and the surgery in itself, you're under general anesthesia, and of course, when you come out, you're nicely drugged up, so it's not painful in that sense. But afterwards, there will be soreness, there will be pain, probably for maybe a week or so. It may be longer, it may be less, depending on how fit the person is, and other factors which your doctor would have to tell you about. But it's going to make a huge difference in somebody's life. And I hope one day, if I or my kids need it, we're able to find a match. So this whole video, the roundabout way, is saying I'm appealing to you to please consider it carefully. There's little to no risk to you, but the difference you could make to somebody you know or to somebody you don't know is amazing. And so I really want to encourage you to consider it this Christmas. If yeah, it would be amazing if you would giving and signing up for the registry, because the more of us there are up there on there, the more people we can save. And just since making this decision, or having this opportunity really a couple of weeks ago, I have found 4 people who have told me that they have lost friends or relatives to people who couldn't get a match in time. And so obviously I'm not helping them, but the more of us who can do it can avoid that situation from happening, and from families being completely devastated and torn apart. So that's my big Christmas appeal to you, and I hope you'll consider it. Thank you. And if I don't speak to you personally, Merry Christmas.